Hello, and welcome to the Playing Out of the Back Guide for the BYSA 7v7 Principles of Play. Today we're going to take a look at how we play out from the back from a goal kick. Goal kicks are a chance to maintain possession and start an attack, but only if done in a coordinated manner. At this age, long kicks forward are intercepted more than 60% of the time, as the pass accuracy over long distances is not very great. Punting from the keeper is also not an option, and we discourage that for any 7v7 team at BYSA. First, any ball that goes over the halfway line in the air from a keeper restart is automatically given to the other team as an indirect free kick on the halfway line, as per the rules in Middlesex. Also, since players of this age are not allowed to head the ball, the odds of them controlling it from the air are low. It's difficult to control a ball that's high, bouncing, or otherwise coming at them from a long distance. And also, because the ball takes more time to travel, it's easier for the defending team to get into position to either put pressure on the ball or just simply outright win the ball from our team. It's important for the spacing of the players so everyone has multiple angles to utilize. As you'll see, the concept of triangles and diamonds all over the field is a core principle for soccer, and it can be easily taught as we teach players how to play out of the back. By spreading out as wide as possible, it forces the defending team to try and cover far more options and space as possible. When we have the ball, one of the important concepts is to make the field big, spreading out the players to make more options, to make the opposing team have to cover greater area and giving the attacking team more areas to play the ball into, to make runs into, to dribble in. Conversely, when we lose the ball, we want to make the field small. We want to compress our team in the middle of the field to make it difficult to play through the middle and force the play to the outside. And lastly, it's important to teach players to move when they don't have the ball, whether that's sliding from side to side to create options for teammates, as we'll see in the following slides, or to protect areas of the field and use possession. Only one player on the field can have the ball at one time. The rest of the players don't stand still when that happens. They also need to learn what to do when they don't have the ball. We're going to go over the basic setup for goal kicks on the next couple of slides. Please notice all the triangles and diamonds formed all over the field. Our wide players are literally on the touch lines with paint on their boots, as we like to tell them, to maximize the size of the field. And the number 9 can vary the position. The striker could be on the center line or, better yet, deeper up the field in line with the last defenders to stretch the field. In our league, the defending team has to be on their side of the field during a goal kick, but the attacking team has no limitation. But many times our strikers will stand on the center line because they think they have to stay on their side of the field. They do not. Teach them to try and find the last deepest defender and to go find a space that they can stand in up the field closer to them to make the field longer for our team. The number 8, the midfielder, has to slide down to both support the defenders as the first play is made, and then has to slide up and out to support the wide players as they go forward. Here's the basic setup. You can see our 4 and 5 are on the outside of the goal area. Sometimes you may have to bring them in even closer here because many of the fields we play on are either narrower or shorter than regulation, making the space a little bit more compressed. Importantly, what we're looking for is a good angle between here. We don't want it too flat because that's too easy to defend. Our 8's in the center. 11 and 7 are on the touch lines, getting paint on the boots. You can see here the 9 is on this halfway spot. But as I mentioned, if the opposite team defenders are back here, moving this 9 out here gives us more options and stretches the field going forward. The goalkeeper should place the ball in the center of their area, not on either corner. The rule states that the keeper can put the ball anywhere within this area. They don't have to put it on the line. If they want to play quickly, they can when they put it down and play out wide, but teach our keepers to play from the central area so it doesn't give away. Too many teams you see will place the ball on either corner. That's a dead giveaway for the pressing team to load up that side of the field to provide pressure. When we're in this shape, you can see there are multiple diamonds and triangles formed all over the field, and this is just a few. Challenge your players, either drawing it on the whiteboard, putting cones on the ground, or making them stand in this formation, and challenge them to find how many different triangles and diamonds are all over the field. It's an important concept to provide no matter where they are on the field, but in this case, it's a great way to start that discussion. Pattern 1 is the most common one, and that's where we play the ball out wide to the 7, the 11. It's important when we watch these pieces for the opposite players where the ball goes on the other side to first hold their wide positions until the ball has been received by the wide player and then to move into a supportive space. And again, the 8 will always first have to drop down closer to the center backs to provide cover in case of a turnover in the middle of the field, and then move out to support the wide players as the ball moves forward. You can see here that the keeper has the ball center of the area. The 4 and the 5 are out close to the edge of the penalty area. Perhaps, again, they may have to tuck in here. The 7 and 11 may start up higher and then drop down to provide an angle or an option for them, because their idea is to find a clear lane as the press comes in. The 8 is here, and again, in this example, the 9 is probably a little bit too close. They should find some space up the field. As the ball moves out to the wide center back, you see the 8 has dropped in to provide cover. The 9 is beginning to slide. The 7 is going to drop down, but the 5 and the 11 are holding their shape for a few more moments in case the ball has to come back to them. As the ball goes out wide to the 7, you can see now the 5 is starting to slide into the central area. The 11 is starting to make a small move inside, not too far. We don't want to even cross the halfway line, but staying out wide. And you can see this massive diamond in the field as the 4 has dropped in behind the 7 to be an option in case they get into trouble and need to turn back. The 8 has slid over to provide an option back centrally, and the 9 is now sliding in this direction to provide an option forward. In this case, the ball is played forward to the 9. You can see now the 4 and the 5 are moving up. And most importantly, my keeper is moving off of the line as they are an important part of this triangle to provide cover behind the 4 and the 5 to sweep up any balls that might bounce and get past them. Standing back on their line is dangerous. They play up here. It provides them a quicker path to a ball that might get behind one of these players and be able to clear it forward. As we move up the field, now we're into the opposition half. We're starting the attack in the final third. You can see the 4, the 7, the 9, the 8 are still creating a diamond. The 4 is now slid over here, again, directly supporting the 9. The 5 is slid more centrally because the ball is on this side. As you can see now, our keeper is up and outside the area, patrolling this area in case of a long rebound or a long pass that goes awry. In pattern number 2, we're going to use the central player to move the ball. We're first going to show it unopposed, and then we'll show why and when this becomes a vital skill to have. Again, play starts here, ball goes out wide, out to the 7 for this example. But now, in this case, perhaps the 7 can't play forward. They misplay the ball. The other team has positioned their players well. Perhaps the 9 did not find a good pocket of space. In this case, it's important for them to feel comfortable to play that ball centrally to the 8. Now the 8 is in a great position to distribute this ball literally in 6 different directions. This concept is called switching the field. It's an important skill for teams to learn, or switching the point of attack from one side of the field to the other. Usually at this age, those wingers cannot swing a 30 to 45 pass from one side of the field to the other, so they have to use an intermediate player like the 8. We've added the defending team in here. You can see they're stacked up on the center line, getting ready to make the charge of the light brigade, as we like to call it sometimes. You can see now this 9 has found a better position. They've moved back here between their center backs, onside, deeper up the field, keeping them occupied and worried about where this person is. As the ball moves forward, this team has either a good coordinated press or just gets lucky. And while the 4 has options right now, they choose the wide option in this case. When they do that, you can see that this team has got a couple players here cutting off down the line or into the 9. This 9 did not take a great position to find space. And this player is overcommitted somewhat, but has taken away the play back to the 4, leaving a clear and natural pass to the 8. When they make this play to the 8, this play cuts out half of the defending team from the play and leaves acres of space for the rest of the team to go forward. If this wide player chooses to try and come in and press the 8, It just leaves even more chances for the 8 to play out wide or play forward or perhaps play to the 5 to play to the 11. In this case, they play directly out to the 11. The defending team is now racing to get back because they've all overcommitted to one side of the field. The 11 has tons of green grass in front of them to start the attack and basically have set up a 2v1 against this defender. The last pattern, and one that perhaps might be taught the second half of the year for a grade 3 team, is the turn if you can, or the play to the 8. Here, communication is vitally important, and it's a skill that players will learn over time, as they're not necessarily that comfortable with talking to their teammates when the game is in play, even if we can't keep them to shut up during practice. If the 8 is free, they could turn directly up the field and play. But body shape and scanning and communication from their teammates is really important skills that will need to be developed before that can happen. If the 8 is pressed, their options become a very easy pass back to one of the center backs or even the goalkeeper, and then the ball can play out wide. To simplify the decisions that the 8 has to make, it's easy to tell the player whatever side of the field the ball comes to you on is the side that you should play the pass back to the defender. As they get better and get older, they'll be able to make that decision on their own and maybe perhaps choose the opposite center back if pressures come from one side or the other. So here is the usual setup. In this case, the 8 drops in, they'll receive the ball. If they can get good communication and they have good body shape where they're facing one of the sidelines when they receive the ball, ideally you don't want your 8 facing the goalkeeper because they can't see behind them, but their body shape is sideways so they can look over their shoulder and see if there's any pressure coming. But either way, the 1, the 4, and the 5 can clearly see what's happening, can tell the player. If they can turn, now they can play directly forward and now have at least 3 options going forward, including dribbling up the field or playing the ball out wide and moving into attacking formation immediately. If they can't turn, they've got 3 easy options to play this ball. As I said earlier, if the ball comes to this side of the player, instruct them just to play it off to this side of the defender. And if the ball happens to come from the keeper over here, you play here. As the pressure comes into the middle, it's going to free up your 7 and 11, which then makes this an easy way to play up and out. This is really also a great option as you become more skilled with this. If teams are starting to figure out how to balance their press to come after your 7 and 11 when you play out wide, changing this up now either will have a gap in the middle for you to exploit, or your pressure comes into the middle, freeing up the wide areas to go forward. The last concept to learn when doing this is recycling the ball or restarting. So if a team sends enough players, they have a coordinated press, or perhaps you didn't handle the ball cleanly and you don't have options forward, then you need to be able to restart the play by playing backwards and playing out the other side. The goalkeeper plays half of the game as a field player, and they should be utilized as such even when they're in net. As I like to tell my players, their feet do not stop working as soon as they put the gloves on. In this example, the pressing team is going to successfully block the forward options, so the team has to recycle and send the ball back around to the other side. Once the ball has been moved back and around, usually it's an easy play to move up the other side, as the pressing team will usually overcommit players to one side to chase the ball. As I like to tell our players, the ball always moves faster than the fastest player on the field. You can see in this case, we play out to the 4. The opposition team has a good press, or perhaps the 4 has mishandled the ball slightly and has allowed the opposition team to get in on these players, taking away the wide option, taking away the long option, and taking away the 8. So the easy play is off back to the goalkeeper. Once they do this, the 8 and the 9 start to slide in the opposite direction. The ball goes out to the 5, and out we go out to the other side. Meanwhile, the opposition team is now having the chase to come around. Recycling the ball backwards to go forwards is an important skill to be used anywhere on the field, but especially during goal kicks if you run into trouble. So to review, one of the trigger phrases you should teach your team is to find their shape. Using this trigger phrase should be the cue for your team to look around and find their position when it comes time for a goal kick. Remind your goalkeeper and your players that they trust them to use their feet during half of the game when they're in the field. They should trust them when they're in the net to use the feet as well. It's important to remind your wingers constantly that they need to get out wide and get paint on their shoes. There's a tendency for young wingers to just kind of stay more in the center of the field or more in the center of the wide area, and it doesn't maximize the width of the field, which makes it easier for the opposition team to mark them. That central midfielder and the opposite center back need to hold their positions. The ball is moved up and out, first to provide an option for a play, and then to also be defensive cover. It's important to start these patterns early. They're going to fail many times before it becomes comfortable, but that's okay because this pattern is used for the rest of their lives if they're going to play soccer. If you watch a professional game, you will see exactly these patterns as they play out the back, except with a few more players on the field. You can use teaching the playing out of the back concepts to reinforce the things that you're doing in your technical practice to say, this is why we need to be better at passing and receiving or body shape, because this is where it comes into play when you do it on the field. You can use these patterns to develop drills or warm-up routines, and we have a video that shows a few different warm-up routines or drills to reinforce these patterns. Again, these patterns are vital to learn at the U10 level. They're going to be used over and over and over again at every level in the future. While these patterns are specific to playing out of the back, the concepts, angles of support, creating diamonds and triangles, are all basic concepts that are used all over the field to maintain possession, to provide options for your team as you move forward at any time, at any part of the field. I hope this overview is helpful and you'll be able to take this information into your practices to teach our players. Thank you.